This conference will now be
Uh,
recorded.
can anyone of you please confirm, if my voice is audible? That should help me, please.
Yeah, yes, you are audible.
Yeah, thank you. So, if you see the previous session, in the first demo session, we have learned or we have discussed a few things like what is performance testing. Okay, on a high level, like what is generic meaning of what is performance testing, what is or what is that performance tester more interested about, when compared to the functional or automation testing guys. And we have seen the LoadRunner architecture. Okay, there are multiple tools in the market, but we are currently learning this tool, right? So we have discussed about the LoadRunner architecture on a high level. At the same time, we have seen a sample recording of a script or a flow, and execution. We just ran it once, and we have seen uh, what is the response time, and how the script is getting recorded, how to start and end a transaction. Okay, so in the initial demo session we have covered, and we have also seen the course content. Okay, we have also seen the course content. If you have any queries with respect to course content, then please do call me after the session. I can explain you again, regarding the course content. Or in fact, if any of the concept above mentioned, if you have any questions with respect to those topics, you can call me, or you can post your questions in WhatsApp group anytime. I would probably reply, in next few minutes, after your question. So that goes on. It's not only for the first day session, for the entire course and after the course as well. I will be supporting you guys, whenever you have any queries, or if you have already started any working on any project, and if you need any help, you can directly call me, or you can text in the group, or so that I can just get the question and provide the solution. Okay, so in today's demo session, we will understand what is performance testing, a definition, and then we'll see what are the different types of performance testing we actually do in our day-to-day basis in our real-time projects. Okay, so in the previous session also, we have discussed about performance testing, but that was on a high level, in a sense, like we discussed in a generic meaning, like but we haven't discussed about the actual textbook kind of definition or something like that. So if you go to any performance testing interview, they might not ask you the textbook definition. However, for our understanding, we have to know what is the definition all about, and what are the different terms that are referred in that particular definition, and what is its meaning, and also what are the different types of performance testing. Then the first 3 or 4 or 5 max 5 or more 4 or 5 max sessions would be a theoretical, and then the remaining 25 days or whatever it is, or the 20 or 25 classes or something like that, would be the complete practical session. Okay, uh, and in the previous demo session as well, we have seen a small record and replay of a script, and then we have understood few terms, and terminologies with respect to performance testing. And today we will see performance testing definition, and its terminologies. Okay, and then types of performance testing. Okay, um, and after these sessions, whatever the PPT or whatever the slides I'm referring to, I will be sharing to all the team members. Okay, so these PPTs you can use, or slides you can use it, for your reference in future. Like if you want to prepare some quick deck or slides, for performance testing, or if you want to just go through the definitions or whatever the concepts we have discussed, this can be helpful. Okay, so generally, what do you mean by performance testing? On a generic way, what we have discussed in the previous session was, uh, let's say that there are few, there's a bank application, and there are some number of people accessing the bank website. Okay, so generally, what is the peak time of a bank working hours? It is generally around 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. in the morning. Generally, more number of people access the bank or bank website. That's what I'm assuming. Okay, so let's say that those numbers are those people are user 1, user 2, user 3, so on, user 100. So if you are a performance tester and if you are given a bank website to test, so we have to analyze how this application is behaving, or we have to determine the behavior of this application when large number of users, okay, these users access this application, okay, at this simultaneously. When all these 100 users, or I'm just giving some example as 100, but it can be a large number of users. When all these large number of users access this particular application, we have to determine how the application is behaving, how fast the pages are loading, how fast the application is responding. Okay, so that is all about performance testing on a high level. Okay, and if you see here, and all these users, okay, all these users who are accessing this bank application are or who logged in simultaneously are called concurrent users. In performance testing terminology, these users are called concurrent users. Okay, so why we have to test with these concurrent users? Because we cannot simulate this performance testing practically, right? If you ask me, or if I ask you to test this particular application with 100 users and tell me how the application is behaving, then you cannot bring 100 people and allocate 100 laptops to them and ask them to log in simultaneously and perform different set of actions. So that is not possible. Okay, it might be possible for little number, but it's not possible for a bigger number or large number of users. So that's why we need a tool, and it can be any tool, but the tool which we are learning is the LoadRunner tool. Okay, LoadRunner tool will help us in determining the behavior of an application when large number of users access the application simultaneously. Okay, so that is on it. That is the definition on a high level. Okay, but in general, if you want to see the textbook definition kind of thing, uh, you know, you can say you can refer to this definition. Okay, so performance testing is testing an application for speed, stability, and scalability in production-like environment under virtual user load to meet non-functional requirements. So this definition might be little I don't say confusing, but the words which are used in this particular definition might be something new to all of you. So it doesn't matter. We can we'll get to it slowly. Like we'll know all these all meaning of all these words in some time from now, and going forward, whenever you work on these performance testing projects, you will be hearing these words on day-to-day basis. Okay, so as I said, no interviewer will ask you the textbook definition of a performance testing, but it's better to learn what are the terms and terminologies that are used, and what is the definition of it, and all those things. So we'll see these terms individually, one by one. What is speed, what is stability, and what is scalability, what is this production like environment. Okay, and we will relate these words in the different types of performance testing, which we'll discuss in some time from now. So first we'll begin with what is speed, stability, and scalability. Okay, so generally performance testing is measured using speed, stability, and scalability. Earlier, around few years ago, maybe I don't say exact number, but around 10, 15, 20 years ago, performance testing was measured in terms of only speed. And in sense, what do you mean by speed here? How fast the application responds to your request with expected or current load. Okay, how your application is behaving when large number of users are accessing the application. Okay, that is what speed relates to. Okay, in other words, you have to you have to ensure that all the pages of your application are loading within some SLA with some service level agreement that that let's say the client will tell that you have a bank application. Let's say the bank application, you logged in and you navigated to the downloading a bank statement tab, and you clicked on download button. When you click on download button, your client will tell any statement should download in 3 seconds, or he will say 2 seconds or 5 seconds. Now, as a performance tester, we should ensure that all the statements are getting downloaded within the SLA that is given by the client. Okay. Now, you can ask me, is there any specific SLA that is already set? Yes. The industry standard for any response time is 2 seconds. Okay. That means if you click a link and it should navigate to the next page in 2 seconds. Okay. Or if you click a button, it should navigate, it should perform the action in 2 seconds. Right. That is the standard. However, there is some exception for the projects. It all depends on the projects, right? If the client says, hey, I'm okay with 5 seconds, then that's fine, right? As a performance tester, we will validate for 5 seconds only. That's not a problem. Okay. So what is speed? Speed is more related to how fast the application is responding. Okay, how fast the pages are loading. Now, a few years ago, this was the only criteria what the performance testers were more concentrating, on more about. Okay. Now, as you see in the last 10 years or 15, 20 years, the trends are changing. Now, the clients, whenever they are going for performance testing, they are thinking about future load or future customers. Okay. Let's say that you have an application, any bank application. Okay. Now, today, the number of customers accessing the bank application is 100, but let's say that after 10 years, it could be 1,000, right? At the same time, the customers are also concentrating on the endurance part. When you say endurance, they want their application to run, or to respond fast in the longer duration. For example, if the application is running for the whole day, now the whole day it should respond in the same way. That means, in a sense that in the first 1 hour it's responding very fast, and in the mid of the day or in the later in the evening it's responding very slow. It doesn't work like that, right? They are also concentrating on this endurance part, and also the future growth perspective also. So that's where the stability and scalability came into picture. Okay, so stability, what do you mean by stability? The performance should not degrade even after using the application for a long time. So it's very direct, understanding. It's a clear understanding that let's say that if the application is running for the whole day, in the first 1 hour, if the application is responding very fast, you click the link and it's responding, it's loading the page very fast. And in the mid of the day, it's responding little slow. And then later in the evening, it's responding very slow. Very slow, or it's almost it's stopping or stop responding or something like that, whatever it could be. So when you say stability, when we are saying that we are testing for stability, we need to ensure that the application is running as exactly, or it's running the same pattern during the whole day. Okay, that means that how fast the application is responding in the first 1 hour, it should respond the same way during the whole day. Okay, that's what is about the stability. Okay, and scalability. What do you mean by scalability? As I said earlier, that the clients are looking at the future growth now itself. Like as I said, if today the bank number of customers for bank application is 100, and the client assumes that maybe after 1 year the number of customers might increase to, let's say, 200. Now the client wants to test the application for 200 users now itself, assuming the future growth. Okay, so these three words we can relate now, like speed, stability, and scalability. Performance testing is measured using speed, stability, and scalability. Now remember these three words: speed, stability, and scalability. I will relate these three words to the different types of testing, in some time from now. Okay, so now at least we got a high level idea about what are these terms: speed, stability, and scalability. Now we will move on to the next slide, which says, okay, So before moving to this slide, I would go back to this definition again. Now, if you see, we have covered the speed, stability, and scalability as well. Now you have something called production-like environment. So this is very important term for every performance tester, and it will, as long as you work in performance testing field, this term, will keep on, you will be hearing this term here and there, every time or whenever you're working on any performance testing projects. So this is very important term as well, production-like environment. Okay, so what do you mean by this production-like environment? Okay, so okay, now if you see, maybe let's say this is production environment, this is production-like environment. What do you mean by production environment? Production environment is nothing but when the application goes live. When the application goes live, or when the application is deployed for use to the end users, that means it is production-like and production environment. What do you mean by production-like environment? So there should be some environment which should be exactly similar to the production, and that is the environment where we have to test as a performance tester. Okay, what it means is, okay, so maybe initially you might not understand this term web server, app server, or load balancer, or DB server, but I'm sure if you are from QA background or any IT field, you might have heard these terms like web server, application server, database server, something like that. Okay, so is anyone from non-IT background joining this session? I request you to please do let me know before only. Okay, so I would like to explain a few more points for you guys especially. Okay, so because guys coming from a non-IT background, or they might not be familiar with these terms sometimes, or some of the guys from IT background might not also be familiar. But however, let's discuss again. So what is a database server? So generally, ignore these relations or the to and fro links between these components, but just understand what is a data. Let's say what is a database server. Database server is nothing but an Oracle server or a SQL server. We might have heard these terms, right? Oracle server, SQL server, databases. These are all databases. So one second, guys. Okay. So these are all the databases: Oracle database, SQL Server. All these are databases. So for any application, it could be any application, a bank or a social networking app, or whatever the app, there should be a database, right? So obviously that could be Oracle or SQL Server or MongoDB, or there are different servers. So what is this application server? App server or application server? Application server is something where the actual code resides. So developer develops something, right? He develops the entire logic, right? That whole logic resides in this particular application server. Okay, and the examples, if I have to tell, it could be like the Apache Tomcat, or you have WebSphere. Okay, so something like that. So you have some application servers as well. Okay, so what exactly exactly is meant by application server? This is a place, or a component where the actual business logic resides. Whatever the developer writes the code, right? So it resides in this particular server, and there can be n number of application servers depending on the number of load that is going. Okay, if huge number of users are accessing the application, then one application server might not take the complete load. Then what happens is they keep on adding application servers. Okay, that's why there's a possibility that there are multiple application server instances. Okay, however, I'm just explaining on a high level. We will discuss in detail in our upcoming sessions as well. Okay, so this is on a high level. I can tell you this is where the business logic or the code resides. Okay, and you remember that there could be multiple application servers. Okay, because when there is a huge number of users, there's a possibility that one application server is not able to handle the load. Okay, and then there is something called, let's say, load balancer. What is this load balancer? Load balancer is something like which acts as an intermediary component that will help in diverting the traffic equally. For example, this is a client. What do you mean by client? That is, let's say we, the customers, we are hitting that application or using the application from our laptops. So at a time when, let's say that 1,000 people are accessing, and the request goes, like in this particular method flow. Okay, when it reaches here to this load balancer, the 1,000 requests, when 1,000 requests reaches this load balancer, what it will do is it will not send those 1,000 requests only to one application server. If that happens, if that happens, then this might not this might take the additional load and it will be overloaded. It can be overloaded and it might not respond. So what is the job of a load balancer is it will equally distribute the traffic. That means it will send 500 to this app server, 500 to this app server, so that the huge number of users load will be equally handled by different different application servers. Okay, so that is one main reason why load balancer is added in this particular diagram. Okay, and then there is a web server which is purely responsible for displaying the CSS or HTML content. So whatever, so when you, let's say that there's a Facebook, you have given username and password, and you entered some you clicked on login button, and then you should ideally be navigated to the home page, right? Now who is on the laptop in your browser, now who is responsible for displaying all the content that you are viewing? So web server plays a key role, and it is responsible for managing the HTML content, the CSS content, or all those web content. It is responsible for displaying onto the UI. Okay, this is a web server. Now client is nothing but the that you can say the browser. Okay, then we have all these components. Now whatever the architecture that is there in the production environment, that means in the production, that means where the end user is using, whatever the architecture is there, the same architecture should also be there in the testing environment. What is the testing environment? Where we are actually testing. Okay, before sending it to the end user, before sending it to the production, we should actually test, right, how it is behaving with 100 users, how it is behaving with 1,000 users, something like that. So then whatever the infrastructure we use or we test, it should exactly match with the infrastructure in the production. Okay, here you can have 2 app servers, and here you cannot have one or 3 or 4. It should exactly match. Then only whatever the test you do here in the testing environment, and whatever the results you give, or whatever the observations you provide, that will have some meaning, and you can tell client confidently that, hey, your application will handle or will manage 1,000 users successfully or simultaneously. Okay, you can clearly tell and confidently tell in this when this happens. Okay, that's the reason as a performance tester, we should ensure that we should make sure that the environment in production and the environment in our testing environment should be similar. Okay, so as of now I can tell you this much. Going forward, I will explain you in detail. Okay, when we have some related concepts, again I'll touch base this particular each and every topic, whatever we are discussing, web server, app server, whatever it is. I'll touch base these concepts again, and I'll explain you in detail, when we have some dependent concepts coming up in our upcoming sessions. Okay, and that is the, so from the definition perspective, we have seen the word, right, production like environment. In the definition we have seen just now in the other slide, in the earlier slide, production like environment. So this is all about the production like environment concept. Okay, now we have understood speed, we have understood stability, we have understood scalability, and then we have also seen what is production like environment. Now we will move on to the next slide. It says different types of performance testing. Okay, but before that, I will just pause for a minute and take any questions if you have. If not, I will take all the questions at the end of the session in the next few minutes. Okay, if you have any questions with respect to the whatever the topics we covered just now, you can ask, or you can park your questions. We can discuss everything in detail in maybe next 15-20 minutes. Okay. So I hope there are no questions as of now. You can post your questions in chat also. I would generally check the chat questions as well. So if you have some audio problem, or if you're not clear about the question, you can just post in the chat. Okay, so no problem. So now with that, assuming that there are no questions, we'll move on to the next slide. What are the different types of performance testing? Actually, there are multiple types of performance testing, but we will discuss the most frequently, or the most important types of performance testing for today. And we'll see one by one. The first one is the load test. The second one is the stress test. The third one is endurance test. The fourth is scalability test, and the fifth one is volume test. So out of these five, there are some three tests which we can relate to the terms which we discussed few minutes ago, that is speed, stability, and scalability. So we'll see what is that. So first one is the load test. What is the load test? Load test. So load test, as discussed earlier, the load test is, again, it determines the behavior of an application when large number of users access the application simultaneously. Okay, if you see, the load test ensures that the application under test is stable and can handle expected load once the application is deployed. So why we have to perform the load test? What is a load test? Load test is performed to ensure that the application is able to handle the expected load. That means if the client says, maybe my application might have 500 number of users in production, then you will go ahead and test the particular application with 500 number of users. Okay, and you should remember one thing: this load test will be executed for 1 hour. Load test will be executed for 1 hour. Whatever the number client is giving, that 500, with that 500 will execute for 1 hour, and provide our observations that hey, your application is able to handle the load of 500 users. Okay, and these are my observations for the load test that we have done for the last 1 hour or during this particular time zone. Okay, so that is about load test. Now, who will give this 500 number? Obviously, client will give, or the business analyst will give. And there are some three different scenarios which we have to discuss about this, about what if we don't get this data, what if we don't get this number, what if the client doesn't know how many are there in the production, or how many might access their application in production. Okay, how to handle that situation. Okay, we'll discuss in our upcoming sessions. Okay, this is all about the load test. So the next test, what we do frequently is, we may do or might not do frequently, but it's important one only, stress testing. So basically, stress test is conducted by increasing the load gradually until the application breaks. Okay, I would like to take an example here. Let's say there is a restaurant, and let's say there are five tables in the restaurant, where the customers, they visit the restaurant daily and have food, and then they leave the restaurant. Okay, so let's take, there are five tables, and now for these five tables, let's take that then there is one person who is managing, who is taking the order from these customers, and managing to deliver the food at their tables daily. You can say that person as, I don't want to name it, something like, it could be a server or whatever it is, a waiter, whatever it is. But I would say that there's a person who manages this activity. Now, well, let's assume that the number of customers are increasing day by day for that restaurant. Okay, and the owner of the restaurant, what he did is, he increased the number of tables from 5 to 8. From 5 to 8. Now, this person who is managing, or who is taking the orders from customers, ideally he is taking the orders from 8 tables instead of 5, and is delivering the food. Okay, he is taking the orders and is delivering the food. Now, again, the number of customers are still increasing. The owner of the restaurant decided to increase the number of tables by 3 more. That means now they have 11 tables. Now, this person who is managing, not taking the food order and delivering the food, he is still taking the order from 11 tables, but he is not able to deliver the food on time. That means there is a slight delay. That means earlier he used to deliver the food in 15-20 minutes. Now he is delivering the food, at the table, maybe around 30 minutes or 40 minutes, he's taking double the time or whatever it is. He's taking more time than what he used to manage for 8 or 5 tables. Now with this 11 tables, he is taking more time. That means he's not able to deliver on time. With the increase in number of customers or the number of tables, he is not able to manage all alone. That's why there's a delay. Now, again, as usual, there's a huge demand for the menu items. Maybe there's an increase in the number of customers. The owner of the restaurant has decided to increase the number of tables by 4 more, and now the total number of tables are 15. And now the person who was managing the order, taking the order and delivering the food, he said, "No, I cannot take the order anymore because the max I could take was only 11, and after that I cannot deliver the food. Okay, I cannot take the order, nor I can deliver the food, or if I take the order also, I cannot deliver the food. Okay, I am exhausted, I cannot do anymore." So what was the max he could manage was 11 tables. So you relate to this stress test. If you see this definition of the first line, stress test is conducting by increasing the user load gradually until the application breaks. So let's say that you have a bank application, and initially you are testing with the application with 200 users, and then you okay, it's very well, it's responding fine, the pages are loading fast. Now you are testing your application with 300 or 400 users. Okay, now again it's still responding fast and it's managing fine. Now increase to 800, it's still managing, but the response times are high. That means the same page it used to load in 2 seconds earlier, now it is taking 10 seconds, or let's say 20 seconds. Now then if you increase the load to another 200, that means 1000 users totally, now the application stopped responding. That means now you can go and tell to client that, hey, the max number of users your application can take is only 800. Okay, and that's the saturation point or the breaking point. The objective of this test is to obtain the breaking point or saturation point. Once the breaking point is attained, there is a noticeable increase in errors, and also there is a big increase in response time. Okay, so you can gradually increase like 500, 800, 1200, 1500, 1600. It's up to you. So this is one kind of test. The main objective is to obtain the breaking point. Like what is the max it can support? Okay, so this is all about stress testing. Okay, and then comes the endurance or soak or duration test. So ideally, quick update, guys. I just forgot one point here. If you see this load test, load test is directly related to speed. Generally, what load test is saying that it is determining the behavior of an application when large number of users are accessing the application simultaneously, right? So how fast the pages are loading, how fast the application is responding. So it's all about speed. So directly I can relate the load test to the term speed, which we discussed in the definition earlier. Okay, and now we have something called endurance or soak or duration test. So basically all these three terms are same, but different projects call it with different names. So I can say that endurance, soak or duration are same. You can call it with any name. So what is this for? This is for testing the stability. We discussed the term stability, right? That means the application should run in the same pattern, or it should respond in the same pattern throughout the day or throughout the test. Okay, it cannot be like in the first 1 hour it's responding very fast, in the next 1 hour it's responding little slow, and later in the evening it's not at all responding. No, it cannot be like that. Okay, so we test the stability of the application. Okay, generally we run it for 3 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and 5 days also. Now you might be surprised, like, do we really run the test for 5 days? Yes, we can. Do we really run the test for 1 day, whole day? Yes, we can run the test. Then what should we do actually? So we should analyze like how the application is responding in the first 1 hour, or after 2 hours, or after 3 hours, or after 5 hours, or when there was an issue, when we found the errors, or when the application is responding very slow. So we have to analyze as a performance tester. We have to analyze as a performance tester. So that is about endurance test or soak or duration test. Okay, I don't want to touch the remaining points, so it's a little bit confusing as of now if I explain the next 2 points. So what I would do, I would park this particular last 2 points. We will discuss in our upcoming sessions when we actually are more comfortable about these concepts and we understand about the terms and terminologies and all those things. Then I'll explain the last 2 points. Okay, this heap memory and all those things. So then what is scalability test? As I said, expecting future growth, client says, hey, now only test my application with future number of users. So testing the application for future load. Test is performed using the ISO load, considering the growth of application under test down the years. For example, current load is 500, assuming 50% growth in the next year. So currently we have to test with 750 users. So it's all about assuming the future growth and testing the application with that number now itself. Okay, that means we are making the application ready for future. Okay, maybe in the next 1 year also, your application need not go through any maintenance or upgrades or something like that. It should still manage to hold more number of users. So that's for about scalability test, and the term indicates obviously it's directly relating to scalability, right? So that's all about scalability. Now the last one is the volume test. So it is also something similar to the load test. Okay, it is also something similar to the load test. Everything is same except that it's more related to the database point of view. And what exactly we do here? So it's exactly similar to the load test. There is no change. There is only one change is, let's say that you have an application and today you have 1 lakh records in your database. Okay, for your application you have 1 lakh records in your database. Now you deployed into production and you used it for 2 years, and then after using it for 2 years, now your number of records in your database is, let's say, 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs. Now what you have to do as part of volume test is, keeping that increase in number of records in the database in mind, we have to intentionally add those 2 or 3 lakhs of records of data into the database and see how the queries are running. Okay, how the application is responding. Okay, when there is more amount of data in the database, there is every chance that that query might run slow, or it might get data in very high time. Okay, the performance might be little slow when the data is very huge in the database. So keeping that risk in mind, what we do is, now only we insert the 3 or 4 lakh dummy data and we see how the queries are running. Okay, or we see how the application is performing. So that is all about volume testing. This we don't do frequently. It's very rare, and it's only required when it is requested to do so. So it will be same as load test, except that huge data populated in the database. Purpose of this test is to check if there is any change in response time with increase in DB volume. So I've given an example. Currently there are 1 lakh records in database, and assuming after 1 year there would be 4 lakh records. So the test would be currently done with 4 lakhs data in database. Okay, so isn't it interesting? In sense, we are working with different types of performance issues. Okay, and without this performance testing, nothing would work for application. Nothing would work seriously. For example, if you are using Facebook, and generally, obviously, you have seen a notification, or in fact, you have seen a news feed. You clicked on that link, and imagine you are able to see that complete news feed data after 60 seconds. After you click that link. No, it's not going to work like that, right? So in a sense, you will not be interested in future, clicking a link and waiting for 1 minute, or clicking a button or waiting for 2 minutes to load the page. No, that's the reason. Obviously, you might switch to alternative social media apps, social networking apps. So in that case, so there's a huge competition. So the companies also, they are giving more importance to the performance perspective. Okay, every application, especially if the end user is using the application, it has to be performance tested, and then only it has to go to the production. Okay, it cannot go directly to live as they wish. Okay, and we have seen so many issues in the recent past. That application crashed, this application crashed, more number of people accessed, right? I'm just giving some example. For example, I will take few if you see, we generally book train tickets, or any flight tickets or train tickets or movie tickets, and if there's a huge demand for that particular train or for that particular movie, sometimes your application, sometimes the ticket booking application will not respond. You might have seen these issues so many times. Okay, page not responding. Okay, internal server error. Okay, some error, unexpected error. You might have seen these issues so many times in real time. Yes, but those are all related to performance only. Those are unexpected issues where that means they expected 100 users to use it, and number of people access the application was 500. That was not expected, but it was a surprise, and they couldn't manage that performance fixes. Okay, so nowadays that's the reason there is a high importance for all the performance testing projects, and every application has to undergo the performance testing before it goes to production, right? So now with that, I will stop the session for today, and I would like to take questions on performance testing, or with the previous demo or today's demo, or future questions, or the course content, or the course duration, or any question you have. Please do ask and get clarified. Okay, and some of you might ask questions like, hey, do we really need coding, or is there any coding part involved here? So how much of coding is required, and what are the different concepts? So how many days course, whatever it is. Okay, whatever it is, whatever you have questions related to performance testing and the course, and anything, you can ask me now. Feel free to ask, and get it clarified, guys. One second. I got some questions in chat. Yeah, you can post your questions in chat also directly. Hands-on performance center. See, performance center or controller are same. So in our course, we'll be looking into controller. See, performance center will be used only when a group of members are working in the same project. Okay. So, and the controller is a standalone application. It still has the same options, same features, but it's a standalone application. It's a kind of tool where you launch it, like how we launched Vusion not day before or a couple of days ago. We worked on Vusion tool, right? Like how we recorded the script, we replayed, we made some changes. Okay, so in the same way, we have to launch a controller as well. Okay, and it is exactly similar to the performance center. Only thing is it is a URL, and this is a standalone application. Okay, when you work in projects, you will get to know for sure. Okay, seeing some questions. Course duration, generally we say it as 25 days, but it generally goes around 1 month or more, because previous batch, it was more than 35 days. Ideally it should have been completed by 30, but it went for 5 days, or 5 days, or 1 week more, because those batch guys were seriously asking some good questions in terms of interview discussions. Actually, we have interview questions, topics, discussion, right? Mock interviews and some interview questions, interaction, or discussing some interview questions for a couple of days. Ideally it extended for more than a week, because there were so many questions coming up, and we had to discuss everything in detail. And I have covered a few additional topics which are not related to this course also, for that batch. And additionally, I would like to continue that discussion, that out of the box questions and all those things. I would like to discuss here as well with this group. So how to prepare a load test report and template? Yes, I will share the template, and I will share, and I will discuss each and every point. See, once you run a load test, or whatever the test it is, endurance test or load test, or scalability test, or whatever it is, you have to provide a clear observations to client and the application or the development team, about what are your observations from the performance perspective. We will discuss in detail about what are the things that you have to add as part of your observations. And in fact, we will be drafting a detailed email, like how can you send a detailed email to client and application team with all your observations. So I'll mention each and every point in that email draft. Okay, so I'll share those documents as well to you guys later point of time. Any other questions? Okay, we still have time. I still have 5 to 10 minutes time. You can clarify your questions. Okay. Anyone from functional background, or no, any background? Just want to understand, like, if there is anyone from non-IT, or I just request you to let me know. If not here, at least directly ping me one-to-one after this session, so that I will call you and explain you, the way the course is designed, and the way some additional sessions are being taken for the non-IT guys as well. Okay. So if you don't want to ping here, you can directly reach out to me. Okay. I'm there in that WhatsApp group. You can directly ping me, or you can post your questions in group, or you can directly ping or call me directly. I'll get your questions clarified. Okay. I have noted down your name. I will call you. Maybe are you from India or any other country currently? So if you are from India, I will call you in the morning time, Indian time. If you are from any other country, then do let me know. I will just plan for the time and call you. Oh, sure. I'll call you tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow morning, and I'll explain how this course is designed, and what are the things you have to learn, and how much of additional effort you have to put. I'll explain you in detail, and if you have any questions, you can directly call me in the morning times. Any day. Okay. So, any other questions, guys, with respect to tool, or with respect to the course content, or with respect to coding, non-coding, or whatever? Yeah, please.
Means last demo you talked about the tool virtual user generator. So today you are talking about the controller. So is the controller different tool that we have to install, or is this comes along with the generator?
Actually, good question. See, actually, those are the components of the LoadRunner architecture. Once you install, you will get all the components there. So one second. So I'll open the architecture again quickly. So here, if you see this architecture, so these are the different components that are involved. Like, so here, if you see, this is virtual user generator, this is load generator, controller, analysis. So generally, these three will come, as part whenever you install in your local. Generally, these three will come: Vusion, controller, and analysis. Load generator, your laptop will act as load generator. Okay, how it works and how, and I'll explain you in our upcoming sessions. But this is a different component. This is a different component. This is a different component. Okay. For example, Vusion, controller, and analysis. Okay. Now let's say quickly go back to the just search Vusion. See, you got this Vusion here. This is one component. Now you type controller. See, you got controller here. Okay. Now you type analysis. Now you got analysis component here. So these three are different components as part of the LoadRunner architecture. Okay. Now we will work on those three, like Vusion, controller, and analysis. We'll work on those three. We will learn all the three components involved, and at the same time, we will also see how what is load generator and how we can use it. Also, we can see. Okay. So those are different different standalone components. Yeah. Okay. Vusion is, I'm not sure if you missed the previous session, but on a high level, I'm just telling you this component is used for developing your scripts. This is for executing those scripts, and this is for analyzing those results. Okay. There's a sequence, right? So we develop the scripts, we run it, we analyze, and we provide our observations to client. So for each of these tasks, we use different components here. What is load balancer? I explained it, right? So just one second, I'll quickly go back to that slide. Is it? So if you see load balancer, so this is a load balancer. Now, generally, let's say that 1,000 people are accessing the application which you are testing. Now, the 1,000 people, they access the application simultaneously. That means they perform some action or the other on the application. Like if it's a bank, they can download a bank statement, they can transfer money, they can pay a credit card bill, they can change the password, whatever it is. So these 1,000 people, 1,000 users are performing some action or the other. Okay, and when they do that, when they do perform those actions, the requests in the backend, they go to the application server where the actual business logic resides. Like, if you click a button, what should happen? What should happen? That logic resides in the application server, that is app server. Okay, so all the requests will go to that application server, and then we'll get the response back. Now, this load balancer, what it will do is, if there is only one application server, okay, so it might not be able to handle the complete load of 1,000 users. I'm just giving some example. So what they will do is, the application team or the architect, they will add one more application server. That means there will be two application servers which are handling our requests, or which are taking our requests, processing our requests, and sending the response back. Okay, now if there are two, now what this load balancer should do is, all those 1,000 users, it should equally distribute 500 here and 500 here. Then what will happen? Then there won't be any additional load on the application server where the actual code resides, and the application responds fast, and you will see that pages are loading fast, and all those improvements. So if there is no load balancer, then if there is no load balancer, what will happen? If there are two application servers, and if there is no load balancer, we cannot say which request is going to which application server, and how many requests are going to this application server, and how many requests are going to this application server. There is no control. And in that case, if 900 are going to this app server, and if 100 are going to this app server, this will take additional load, causing performance degradation. That means if it is not able to take the 900 load, and and then what happens? Ideally, it will respond slow, and the page, it was supposed to load in 2 seconds or 3 seconds, it would take 20 seconds or 30 seconds. Okay, so causing the performance issue, or you can say bottleneck. In performance testing terminology, we call an issue as a bottleneck. Okay, so going forward, if I use the term bottleneck, so you take it as an issue. Ideally, I will just swap it. Sometimes I use issue, sometimes I use bottleneck, but again, you should not get confused at that point of time. Okay, and it's a kind of software. It's when I have represented this diagram, I can say that it's a software or a program or some small piece of software which will have a sort of algorithm, based on which it will route the request to each of the application servers, right? So the algorithm can be there are different algorithms again, so which we'll discuss. I'll just give you examples in our upcoming session. So let's say that the load balancer is following some algorithm as round robin algorithm or something like that. So based on the algorithm, it will take the request, and it will route it to the next application server. Whichever is having less load, it will route it to that, or it will route one to that, one to this, one to that, one to this. It's a continuous cycle, round robin, continuous cycle. So there are different algorithms there. So you can I'll give you examples, and I can explain you those in our upcoming sessions. Okay, so we are running out of time. I'll take more questions here. How many inbuilt LR functions? See, there are so many inbuilt LR functions are there, but the most frequently used, and whatever the LR functions which you should learn, or we should go through, using which you will be able to develop any script, whatever the script it is. All those functions I will definitely cover. Okay, how can I install these components in my PC? Again, you can actually download it as a trial version from your end also. But if we give the software, we might there is some limitation that you can access Vuegen Unlimited, but controller you don't have that access limits or something like that. But again, when we discuss the first session of LoadRunner practical session, maybe next 2-3 days, I will explain you what are the different possibilities, and how can you work on it, how can you get it done. Okay, so we are going to use all yes, for our session, for our practice sessions, we are going to use Vuegen controller and analysis, everything, because we have to learn everything. Then only it will be a complete performance testing class course, right? So we learn all the components. Okay, so I hope this session was helpful and provided you the information which you require. If you need any additional information, then please do let me know. Okay, please do let me know, and you can ping in the WhatsApp group, and I can help you. If you have any questions which you want me to explain again, I can call you back and I can take your questions as well. Okay, so hope this session was helpful to all of you, and I hope to see all of you in the upcoming sessions as well. And thank you for taking your time and joining this demo session. So thank you all for joining, and have a great day.